Hi everyone, hope you're doing well today. A time for some chanting and then some meditation, and then of course the Dharma Talk commentary on studying, practicing and sharing the Dharma with pure intentions. And I'm utilizing my book to answer specific questions. So we'll go through probably about another 4 of these teachings today. You'll have to excuse me a little bit today, very heavy winds. I just come down with a little bit of hay fever just this afternoon, actually. So, like that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami, dutayambi buddham saranam gacchami, dutayambi dhammam saranam gacchami, dutayambi sangham saranam gacchami, tatayambi buddham saranam gacchami, tatayambi dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gate gate parasangate bodhi soha. Tayata gate gate parasangate bodhi soha. Tayata gate gate parasangate bodhi soha. So now get yourself comfortable for some meditation. Remember to rejoice in your Dharma practice. Rejoice in your Dharma studies. Rejoice in the practice of meditation, so on. And rejoice in the rejoicing. So bring your mind inside your body, and we shall release the tension from the tips of the toes up to the shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, then back up to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension you can release. And if there is, release it. And now place your mind onto your breath, or the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. Breathing in and breathing out. So physically, that's all we have to do is sit here or whatever posture you are having. Do that, breathing in, breathing out, and then placing your mind onto your breath. So physically, all we need to do is breathe and sit. Mentally, place your mind onto your breath. And if it wanders off the breath or gets dull, then replace your mind back onto your breath, utilizing these antidotes. Breathing in, breathing out. Not too tight, not too loose. Not too much, not too little. Walk the middle path. You can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 to 10. Though if you do get distracted on the way to counting to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. 1 in breath, 1 out breath is 1, and so on. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, any mental agitation, then replace your mind back onto your breath and let go of the distraction of the thoughts, just naturally, peacefully. So if thoughts arise, let them go. Don't cling to them, don't grasp at them. Don't try to force them away either or deny them. But simply by replacing your mind back onto your breath, you let them go. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by replacing your mind onto your breath more. This way, replacing your mind back onto your breath is the antidote for both the agitated mind, overactive mind, as well as the dull mind. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now we can feel pleased with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness, especially the feeling of this loving kindness. Fill your whole being with that. And also utilize the visualization and visualizing white light filling your whole being, or white nectar if you prefer. Visualize yourself filled with this white light that represents universal loving kindness. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, family, and friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too, wishing that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful. And now also extend this loving kindness, radiate it outwards to strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards, whether you know them a little or not at all. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now also include those you may regard as enemies, those people that you find very difficult to be around or even think about. Fill them with the universal loving kindness too. May these three different types of people from your own perspective have happiness and the causes of happiness, be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and be peaceful. And really visualize it, that they are filled with this universal loving kindness in the form of the white light or nectar. But like I say, if you can't visualize or find it difficult, or even don't like it, then just go with the feeling, okay? The feeling is of utmost importance. And now let's extend this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, starting initially around your immediate area, to all living beings now, not just humans. All living beings that are born from wombs, from eggs, from water or moisture, or through transformation. All the living beings that live on the land or fly through the air, live in the waters, the oceans, rivers, and so on. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now let's radiate this loving kindness out throughout our whole state or county. How many living beings, even just around our immediate area? Innumerable, uncountable. Would do our head in if we tried to. So how many more throughout your state or county? And further and further. Now throughout other states and counties, throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the world. Initially those you're familiar with, have an affinity towards. Then those that you're indifferent towards, maybe don't know about them. And also those countries that for whatever reason you may have some negative feelings towards. Have your loving kindness radiate throughout this whole world, throughout all of the countries, all the landmass, all of the oceans and waterways. Have your loving kindness pervade down to the center of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. Loving kindness that is generated in your own heart. And now beyond this world alone, radiate your loving kindness throughout the whole solar system. And the galaxy. And the universe. And have your loving kindness pervade throughout infinite space, whilst also being present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious pure of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Oh, water. So like I mentioned before, we'll attack a few more of these teachings from my book to answer some questions that came in over the last 9 months or so. And I cleaned my glasses just before class. Hopefully they are still clean. So what are these teachings called? What did I call them in the start of the book? Just bear with me while I find them. I think this one's called Middle Path. Next one, Be Alert. Then Peace and Harmony. Then Be Careful. Okay, so first of all, I should mention as well, just remind you that this is the last class for this year, for 2023. We will start up again in 2024 on the 13th of January. But of course, I'll let you know. I'll notify you different ways, okay? So we're off next week, which is the 23rd. Then we're off on the 30th, and then again on the 6th of January. So enjoy your break, but don't stop practicing Dharma, okay? And if you need to ask me questions, just shoot me a text or whatever, and I can answer your questions when I have time, okay? And even if you need to have a chat, no problem. We just have to make some time that we're both free, and then we can talk then, okay? So just a reminder for you, so I've already told you that. I've just asked Leisha today to actually book the Zoom classes for next year, for the whole year. So we will have to have a new ID and passcode, new link, but I'll get that to you in due course, as soon as I get it from Leisha, as soon as she's booked it. Okie dokie. Maybe she has to wait till after the end of this year, to do that. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know as soon as I do. Yes, so this teaching, avoid all extremes, practice the middle path, which consists of perfect understanding, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. And this comes straight out of my song, actually, that I wrote called The Enlightenment, the Teaching Song. And this is part of that song. In fact, some of these teachings are from that song. And then I elaborated, I sort of gave explanations of varying lengths afterwards, okay? So I'll just read it to you. I think all of these 4 that I'm going to read to you today, share with you today, you probably are very familiar with them. You would have seen them on Facebook and so forth, okay? I wrote them quite a few years ago now, probably around about maybe 6-7 years ago. Transcend the extremes of eternalism and nihilism. Practice the Eightfold Path. Train yourself in morality to live a pure and sacred life. Train yourself in meditation to develop awareness, attention, and focus. Train yourself in wisdom to perceive things as they are. Morality training consists of right speech, action, and livelihood. Right speech means speech free from lying, slandering, using harsh language, and gossip. Right action means actions free from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. To act with respect for life, generosity, and care. Right livelihood means to abstain from trading in anything that would bring harm to ourselves and others. Our virtues should always outweigh material gain. I don't think there's any need for explanation beyond that, or more commentary, I should say, beyond that. So probably just read this one slowly to you, and then you can contemplate it later, because we've had these teachings before many times, okay? Meditation training consists of right effort, mindfulness, and concentration. Right effort means to do one's best diligently towards the right direction. The effort to overcome and avoid unwholesome thoughts, and to develop and maintain only wholesome thoughts. Right mindfulness means to maintain a pure and thoughtful mind. Mindfulness in regards to body, feelings, mind, and mind objects. Right concentration means to keep the mind clear and tranquil for its concentration, seeking to realize the mind's pure essence. Excuse me. Wisdom training consists of right understanding, intention, and intention. Right understanding is the wisdom of clear vision, seeing things as they are, to thoroughly understand the Four Noble Truths, the law of karma, and not to be deceived by appearances and desires, to look at ourselves and the world without delusions or distortions about reality. Right intention means the resolution not to cherish desires, be greedy or angry, and not to do any harmful deed. Intentions free from ignorance, attachment, and aversion. So just to remind you, right understanding can also be known as right view. This is the direct antidote to give up ignorance, okay? To free the mind from ignorance, unveil the wisdom. And then, of course, you have the right intention is the antidote for attachment and aversion, okay? That's the only commentary I'll give on that right now, because you know this well, I'm sure, and you can review the video if you just want a little refresher about what I just said, or if you have the book, read the book. If you don't have the book, read the Facebook, read my lips, okay? Maintain a pure intention, work our way towards right understanding by practicing morality, meditation, and wisdom, okay? Along with, of course, the great compassion, the love and kindness, and so on, okay? So number 18 out of 50 says, be alert, because even the smallest unwholesome thought can lead to very unwholesome thoughts. That's true, isn't it? You know, we can start off by having just one little bad thought, and then we dwell on it. Then, as we dwell on it, it reinforces itself. And as it reinforces itself, it becomes then natural for us, unfortunately, to have this unwholesomeness consistently. We don't want that. We want wholesomeness. Wholesome brings happiness, brings contentment. Unwholesome brings suffering. Which one we would choose in this moment, you know? So we should do our very best to protect our mind by enthusiastically practicing the four great efforts as taught by the Buddha, to eradicate any unwholesome thoughts that have already arisen, to stop any new unwholesome thoughts from arising, to give rise to wholesome thoughts, and to maintain wholesome thoughts that have already arisen. The Buddha said, with sustained effort and sincerity, discipline and self-control, the wise become like islands which no flood can overwhelm. So become like this, you know, really with the sincere effort, sustained effort, the discipline of mind, especially mind, self-control like this, we can become just like an island that is not overcome by the seas. No flood can overwhelm us. No negativity can overwhelm us. Even no suffering can overwhelm us, okay? So practice these four great efforts. Like I say, another teaching is, you're walking up a mountainside. You get to the summit. So often near the summit, it's a very skinny little area. And so, drop on this side, drop on that side. And these four great efforts are like putting a fence on both sides, on either side. So that if you go a little bit this way, you go back to the middle path. A little bit that way, back to the middle path. Protecting our mind, protecting ourselves. To utilize this sort of simile, we're protecting ourselves from not falling down the cliff. So build a fence before you fall down the cliff or fall off the cliff by practicing these four great efforts. Okie dokie. Number 19, be at peace in harmony with yourself and all that surrounds you. So peace and harmony. Once again, I've spread this teaching around a lot, so you should know it already. We are intimately connected with all of nature. It is most important for us to realize this. For if we know this fact, then we are more likely to coexist with all living beings and all of nature in a peaceful and harmonious way. Many of our worries, discontent, agitation, and feelings of being disconnected arise due to not realizing this natural truth. We should open our minds and be less self-centered. Take, for example, a camera. When the camera's focus is set on close-up, all we see through the lens is the close-up. Nothing else is seen. This is like when we are self-centered. We are focusing on ourselves, our problems and discontent, our likes and dislikes, and so on and so forth. At this time, they are like the whole universe, and nothing or no one else matters or exists. But the more we widen and open the focus of the camera's lens, the more views and wider perspective of all that is around us is available to our vision. Likewise, the more we widen our focus, widen our view, open our mind, the more we allow ourselves the opportunity to develop genuine insight into ourselves, others, and all of nature, and be at peace and in harmony with ourselves and all that surrounds us. So this is how really we want to have peace, right? We want to be in harmony with things around us. I think sometimes our old habits, clinging to the causes of suffering, clinging to our ignorance, the belief in the self, clinging to false views, wrong views. These are habits that we have. And we must practice the Dharma to release ourselves, you could say, or free ourselves from these habits. Widen the focus of our mind. Opening the mind doesn't mean not having views, not having beliefs. We are sentient beings, we have these. But the beliefs that we should have really should be helpful, should be beneficial for ourselves and for others, and not blind beliefs. Especially don't believe and live in a way that brings harm. Back to the camera again. I think you can understand that very clearly. I'm sure that we've all at some stage used cameras. These days, of course, it's the phone that has a camera. But if you go close up on something, that's all you see. Let's say, for instance, I've got a camera here and I'm close up on this book. That's all I see right now. There's nothing else, no trees, no beach, no you, no me. Actually, there's a teacher on emptiness, isn't it? By accident. But you can see that that's all I see. It gets in my way. And our mind, when we are closed-minded like that, actually, we don't perceive anything but our own thoughts. That doesn't mean not to be introspective, by the way, because when you are introspective, you get to know yourself. You get to understand things like impermanence and so on, because you are contemplating. You are utilizing this mind, this vast mind, to contemplate and analyze that which is true, that which is not true, and so on, so forth, developing a right understanding. Okay, so widen your view. What did I say there at the end? Widen your focus, widen your view, open your mind. The more you allow yourself the opportunity to develop genuine insight into ourselves, others, and all of nature. When our mind is more open, when our view is widened, when our mind is stable, humble, flexible, and so on, then we allow ourselves the opportunity to realize the truth of things, and especially your mind, okay? And then you can be at peace and in harmony with yourself and with everything around you. You can be at peace and in harmony with. Okay? So I think that's a good one. I actually looked at these the end of last week's class to find out what I will do. And there may be a few of these teachings, shorter ones maybe, that I may bypass in January, but probably not, but probably go through all of them. So it won't take very long, because this one now is number 20 out of 50. And we've been doing this now, I think, for 4 weeks or something like that. So, or maybe 5 weeks. So maybe there's like 3 or 4 we're averaging to do every week. And so we will finish doing like this. And then all of the questions that I got asked, there were so many of them, I think 50 odd. And so all of them will be answered within me giving commentary and reading out the explanation that is already there from this book and all of the teachings therein. And then we'll move on to the next major subject, probably for the rest of the year, okay? And we'll continue to do this format, you know. In between the main subjects, we'll do Q&A in different ways, okay? I'll find some ways to keep you entertained, except I won't dance. No dancing. Actually, if I danced, it'd become a comedy act, I think. So, all right. So anyway, see, a comedy act, because I need the comedy, because when I tell a joke like that, nobody gets it. So I used to say years ago, and I stopped saying this because I thought people may think I'm egotistical or something. I used to say, when people didn't get a joke that I said, that I have to be in the audience for it to work. There has to be an audience, say, of 100 people. I have to be 100 people. Otherwise, nobody laughs. So I think you get my dry humor. All right. So be careful not to just impulsively react in accordance with your habitual tendencies. And you know this one very well. This can also be known as the buffer zone teaching, or the nip negativity in the bud teaching. Be proactive, not reactive teaching. Okay, so I read to you. Here I'm using the example of the 5 skandhas as well. And so I utilize this teaching, parts of it, during the commentary on the 5 skandhas, which is almost 3 years ago now, coming up to that, because time flies. When mental sensations and thoughts arise, don't cling to them or follow them or turn them into something bigger than they are, for they are simply conditioned habitual tendencies. Be proactive and nip them in the bud by just letting them go naturally, rather than being reactive, reacting to them, and then reacting to the reaction, and so on and so forth. For instance, if we let the weeds in the garden grow, unrestrained and uncontrolled, the size and amount of weeds continually increase and become overwhelming. Likewise, if our thoughts and feelings are left to grow, unrestrained and uncontrolled, they will intensify and eventually become overwhelming. Let's consider the 5 skandhas, or aggregates, that make up a living being, which are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and empty of self-nature. We experience the world through our senses, which gives rise to mental sensations or feelings, which are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. We then recognize or perceive these sensations and normally then impulsively react, which in turn leaves a karmic imprint on our consciousness. We should create what I like to call a buffer zone between the perception of the sensation and the impulsive reaction. In other words, allow ourselves the opportunity to not impulsively react. In this way, we can protect ourselves from creating negative karma. To give a brief example, if we bump our head on something hard, generally the sensation we experience would be unpleasant. We then perceive the unpleasant sensation and impulsively react with frustration or even fully blown anger, which in turn leaves a negative karmic imprint on our consciousness. However, if we create a buffer zone between our perception of the unpleasant feeling and our impulsive reaction, we will avoid creating negative karma. Enjoy your buffer zone. Nip negativity in the bud before it becomes overwhelming. So it's only a minute and a half to go. That'll do. I won't go into the next one. It's too long. Talk about appreciation again. So anyway, so create this buffer zone, why not? Be kind to yourself, be proactive. Look after your mind. You're not reactive, reacting to unwholesomeness and so on. Reacting to our ignorance or based on ignorance. Reacting to our attachment to things we find pleasing, or the aversion that we experience when we have things come to us that we find unpleasant, that we don't want, We're always chasing after what we want, try to push away what we don't want. And the stronger this becomes, more enforced this is, the more difficult it becomes to let it go, to purify, uproot the negativities, okay? They kind of reinforce themselves. Even if we're just standing still here right now, dust will form on us, So we must clean the body, right? Just like we must clean the mind. If we are moving forward on the Dharma path, then we are not going backwards, obviously. If we are going backwards,